Welcome to Hero Villains. Who do you think would win when Onslaught faces Red Hulk Intelligence of Destruction meets Furious Strength? Onslaught is a destructive entity born from the fusion of the dark sides within the minds of Professor X and Magneto. He not only possesses psychic power far beyond human limits, but also commands the ability to manipulate magnetism, transmute matter, read and control minds on a global scale. Onslaught does not fight with brute force alone. He crushes his opponents with will, fear, and overwhelming mental pressure. When he reaches a state of near omnipotence, he becomes a living catastrophe, capable of overpowering multiple top-tier superheroes at the same time. Red Hulk, also known as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, is the embodiment of rage tempered by military strategy. Unlike the traditional Hulk, the hotter Red Hulk becomes the stronger he grows, able to absorb energy and radiate intense heat that scorches the surrounding environment. He possesses colossal physical strength, absurd durability, and a cold, calculating combat mindset, turning every strike into a carefully planned finishing blow. Before we dive deeper into the analysis, please subscribe and remember to turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thank you all very much. Onslaught is the dark crystallization of hatred, resentment, and malice buried deep within the long-standing conflict among mutants. This entity was born in a rare moment when the minds of Professor X and Magneto briefly merged, opening the floodgates for the most extreme emotions to surge forth. The breaking point came when Magneto ruthlessly tore the adamantium from Wolverine's skeleton, pushing every moral boundary to the brink of collapse. Xavier used his telepathic powers to place Magneto into a coma, but that very act caused him to inadvertently absorb all of Magneto's rage, pain, and hatred, merging them with the darkness he had long suppressed within himself. This twisted fusion gave birth to Onslaught, an independent entity hidden deep within Xavier's mind, initially lying dormant in silence. Over time, mounting frustration over hostility toward mutants, along with successive personal tragedies, became the catalyst that nurtured its growth. When Xavier's astral form was dragged into the physical plane by Nate Gray, the final chains were broken. Onslaught was unleashed, carrying a storm of destruction forged from intellect, power, and fury, ready to challenge the world with a chilling truth that sometimes the most terrifying enemy is born from within. After fully seizing control of both the body and mind of Professor X, Onslaught began to enact his ruthless ambitions. He sought to force the X-Men to abandon the path of reconciliation, compelling them to take a hardline stance and confront humanity directly. When met with fierce resistance, Onslaught no longer concealed his power. His ideology closely mirrored that of Magneto, placing mutants in a position of dominance. However, after accessing Nate Gray's memories and witnessing the grim future of the Age of Apocalypse, he realized a bitter truth that even mutants could become tyrants. This realization did not cause Onslaught to hesitate. Instead, it made him colder and more extreme. Faced with an unprecedented threat, the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Avengers were forced to set aside their differences and fight side by side. They managed to stop Onslaught through a victory steeped in pain, paying an almost absolute price in sacrifice. In a moment that seemed utterly hopeless, Franklin Richards saved the heroes by creating a pocket universe, opening a final path to survival. Onslaught refused to accept defeat and sought revenge on Franklin, but within the space the boy himself created, he was defeated by the combined efforts of the reborn heroes and cast into the negative zone. Just when it seemed to be over, Onslaught escaped once more and possessed Ricky Barnes, reigniting the flames of conflict. The final confrontation unfolded in suffocating tension where human will clashed against pure destruction. Through her own sacrifice, Ricky brought an end to Onslaught's plan, closing a tragic chapter and leaving behind a bitter lesson about power, hatred, and the cost of betrayed trust. Onslaught possessed power so overwhelming that both the X-Men and the Avengers had to commit everything they had just to restrain him, as every attack seemed to be devoured by his energy armor. It was only when the Hulk arrived and unleashed raw strength beyond all limits that the armor was finally shattered. Even then, Onslaught was not destroyed, but instead shed his form, dissolving into a vast energy presence that flooded the surrounding space. Thor quickly realized that this power was the very core of Onslaught's existence. Without hesitation, he hurled himself directly into the raging energy field. The mutants could not follow, but the Avengers and the Fantastic Four stood alongside Thor, accepting the risk to advance into the center of destruction. In that fateful moment, they shattered the core energy source, bringing an end to Onslaught's physical existence. Not only was Onslaught formidable in combat, he was also a master of reality manipulation. He created ruthless Onslaught Sentinels to hunt down mutants while simultaneously constructing parallel realities and even pocket universes to imprison heroes. He once confronted Galactus, controlled the minds of many powerful superheroes, forced them to turn against their allies, and spread chaos on a global scale. Even Franklin Richards, a mutant regarded as one of the most powerful beings in history, was compelled to face him directly. Onslaught was not merely an enemy, he was the embodiment of a nightmare where absolute power walked hand in hand with boundless ambition. Onslaught was not simply a foe, he was the convergence of countless abilities. He could distort and reconstruct reality at will, open parallel worlds, or create miniature dimensions to trap his enemies. His telepathic powers reached a terrifying level, allowing him to read thoughts, control minds, and implant commands directly into the consciousness of his targets, from vast distances with almost no resistance, even from the most powerful psychics. Onslaught also possessed a superhuman physique with overwhelming strength and durability, along with the ability to absorb energy to further amplify himself. He could unleash violent energy blasts, trigger devastating explosions, manipulate objects with mere thought, and move through space as if all physical limits were meaningless. He even created personal sentinels to serve him, turning the battlefield into a deadly domain under his absolute control. Most terrifying of all were Onslaught's invisible psychic assaults. These energies left no physical trace, yet could tear apart a victim's mind, inflicting unbearable pain, rendering them unconscious, or destroying them from within. Even before reaching his fully evolved state, this power was still sufficient to pierce the defenses of Juggernaut, a being normally protected against extremely powerful psychic abilities. A single moment of hesitation was enough for Onslaught to deliver a killing blow, proving that before him even supposedly invincible icons could fall in silence. I sincerely hope you will subscribe to the channel, it would help us greatly, and you are truly amazing. Thank you very much. Now let us talk about Red Hulk. Throughout his life, General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross was a relentless shadow following Bruce Banner. Wherever Banner appeared, Ross was there as well, carrying an obsession to destroy the Hulk at any cost. That hostility did not arise solely from military duty, but gradually became a deeply personal vendetta, driving Ross to constantly seek a power great enough to confront the Green Monster head-on. That ambition pushed him into alliances with shadowy organizations such as AIM and the Intelligentsia. The result was a series of bold and extremely risky experiments that ultimately succeeded beyond expectations. Thaddeus Ross was no longer just a general, he became Red Hulk, a living engine of destruction shaped like a man. Although he appears to be a version of the Hulk, Red Hulk possesses critical differences that make him uniquely dangerous. Ross can freely shift between his human form and Red Hulk whenever he chooses, while retaining his intellect, memories, and battlefield experience. Power, therefore, ceases to be an uncontrollable curse, and instead becomes a strategic weapon wielded by a seasoned military mind. With decades of warfare behind him and having risen to the highest ranks of the armed forces, Thunderbolt Ross is a sharp commander and a hardened leader. Red Hulk is not merely a physical threat, but a calculated nightmare where every move is deliberate. The rage of Red Hulk does not merely explode, it burns in the most literal sense. The angrier Ross becomes, the hotter his body grows, radiating terrifying heat capable of melting sand and turning it into glass. However, unlike the traditional Hulk, this heat is not an absolute advantage. When his anger exceeds the tolerance of the human body hidden within, Red Hulk can collapse under his own power and fall unconscious. That is the price of strength controlled by will, yet still bound by finite limits. Defeating the Hulk usually means forcing him back into the form of Bruce Banner. But with Red Hulk, the situation is entirely different. Even when defeated, Ross remains in his superpowered form, making containment extraordinarily difficult. His blazing red skin is nearly impenetrable, and once he regains consciousness, he can snap almost any restraint as if it were a child's toy. This alone turns Red Hulk into a living nightmare. Instead of emitting radiation like the Green Hulk, Red Hulk absorbs energy from his surroundings. The more energy sources he consumes, the stronger and more dangerous he becomes. To this day, only energy originating from the negative zone has proven truly harmful, inflicting extreme pain and significantly weakening him. Amid blazing battlefields and surging radiation, Red Hulk stands like a living reactor, both the ultimate weapon and a ticking bomb ready to detonate at any moment. After a carefully planned ambush, Red Hulk defeated Thor in an instant, a feat powerful enough to shake the entire universe. What made it truly terrifying was that his opponent was not an ordinary Thor, but King Thor, a being who had inherited the Odin Force directly from Odin himself. Red Hulk silently absorbed this divine power, simultaneously amplifying his own strength while eroding the power of the God of Thunder. When Thor fell, it was not merely a physical defeat, but a sign that Red Hulk had ascended to an entirely different level. Not stopping there, Ross went on to confront the Silver Surfer, the Herald of Galactus, and wielder of the power cosmic. From the very first moments, Red Hulk drained this cosmic energy dry, pushing the Silver Surfer to the brink of death. Empowered by unimaginable force, Ross entered a cold and merciless slaughter, defeating and killing renowned figures one after another, including Namor, Tiger Shark, Doctor Strange, Baron Mordo, and even the Grandmaster. The universe itself seemed to fall silent before his might, yet even that savagery eventually reached its limit. When Galactus discovered the one who had stolen his sacred gift, the cosmic entity intervened immediately. In an instant, all power was stripped from Red Hulk, every catastrophe he had caused was undone, and those who had fallen were restored to life. It was a brutal reminder that even after touching the power of gods, Red Hulk was still only a mortal. On another occasion, Uatu the Watcher appeared to offer guidance to Ross. As a cosmic being tasked with observing all of humanity, Uatu rarely revealed himself. When he did, it was to prevent a terrible catastrophe. Yet the moment he appeared before Red Hulk, Ross responded by punching him in the face, rendering Uatu unconscious. Thaddeus Ross always walked across battlefields with ironclad conviction. Yet when he faced the Hulk, Ross encountered for the first time something that lay beyond every framework of power he understood. Before the green monster, he could neither control nor defeat it. That helplessness gradually transformed into obsession, and then into hatred, deeply rooted in his mind. Stealing the Hulk's power and transforming into Red Hulk turned him into a walking contradiction, a warrior cloaked in the hypocrisy of one who had once condemned such uncontrollable power. However, even after obtaining that terrifying strength, Ross was forced to experience a brutal truth firsthand. Red Hulk unleashed all of his power in their fated confrontation, while the Hulk stood there calmly as if every blow were nothing more than a passing breeze, before effortlessly bringing his opponent down. Many entities bearing the name Hulk can be created from Bruce Banner's blood, enhanced with countless auxiliary abilities to gain an advantage. But in the end, they are all merely shadows. She-Hulk, Red Hulk, or Scar may carry the Hulk name, but Bruce Banner alone is the original embodiment of the legend. When his rage knows no limits, he always rises above anyone else, affirming the supreme status of the mythical Hulk, a being no borrowed power can ever replace. Red Hulk is a top-tier gamma powerhouse, possessing immense lifting and striking strength, high durability, heat-based offensive capabilities, and a tactical combat style inherited from General Ross. He is not uniformly stronger than every version of the Green Hulk, but he is always capable of devastation on a scale ranging from cities to mountains, and stands as an equal rival to most gamma-enhanced opponents. Onslaught is a sentient psychic entity born from a twisted fusion of the consciousness of two of the greatest mutants, Professor Xavier and Magneto. From the moment of his creation, he inherited the full range of their mutant abilities, including transcendent, telepathic intellect, and catastrophe-level mastery over magnetism. Over time, Onslaught further absorbed the power of Omega-level mutants, such as Franklin Richards and Nate Gray, elevating his might to a level that is nearly unreachable. At his peak, with only a few brief appearances, Onslaught demonstrated power beyond conventional logic by creating a second sun from nothingness. He was fully capable of confronting Red Hulk head-on while unrestrained by any limitations. This was the moment when Red Hulk was no longer bound by control or tactical calculation, leaving only raw strength and blazing rage. Ultimately, Franklin Richards was forced to intervene to prevent the heroes from sacrificing themselves, an action that inadvertently destabilized Onslaught's power and ended a threat on a cosmic scale. Considering that only entities whose power approaches that of the Celestials are capable of stopping Onslaught, the fact that Red Hulk was able to crack his armor is already an astonishing achievement. Red Hulk was not merely facing an enemy with superior intellect and power, but standing against the embodiment of hatred and compounded might. In theory, with no restraints remaining, Red Hulk could continue to increase his strength. He is extremely dangerous due to his energy absorption, immense physical power, and the tactical mind of a general. In the early stages, he could completely overwhelm and even damage Onslaught's energy armor. In terms of pure physical collision, Red Hulk is not at a disadvantage and is capable of delivering shocking blows. However, Onslaught is not an opponent who relies solely on brute force. He is a psychic entity born of Xavier and Magneto, further amplified by the power of Franklin Richards and Nate Gray. This places him at a level of reality manipulation, mind control, and existence beyond ordinary physiological concepts. Red Hulk can shatter and smash, but he cannot easily destroy a being that lives as consciousness itself. Onslaught needs only a single moment of mental domination to end the battle. Red Hulk may inflict damage and apply immense pressure, but Onslaught is the ultimate victor thanks to his psychic supremacy, reality warping abilities, and status approaching that of cosmic entities. I hope you enjoyed this battle. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Follow me if you liked it. That is today's video. Thank you very much.